Hey everyone, Sycra here, and I get asked a lot about what program should I use. And this is usually by people who have just purchased a tablet and they're not really experienced in digital art. And for me personally, I use Adobe Photoshop a lot. But this program here, Sketchbook Pro, it's probably my second favorite, and in terms of price it's much more affordable. It's for me it was $60 Canadian, and compared to Photoshop, which can run close to $1,000. Well, now they have a subscription based thing, so it's different, but it's still much more expensive. So if I can sum up one reason Sketchbook Pro is great, it would have to be it's user-friendly, and it's really designed for a tablet, and it's not very good if you have a mouse, but if you have a tablet, this program is great. And a lot of tablets, rather, at least the Wacom tablets, they come with Sketchbook Express, I think it's called. And that's good. That works well. But I'm going to be talking about Sketchbook Pro in this, and going over some of the features. So right away, you'll notice that here we have, instead of like a confusing brushes thing, it's just very simple. You want a pencil? Yeah, I have a pencil. You want a marker? Okay, you got your marker, and they behave pretty close to the traditional counterparts. If I click this button, I can see, here's what the mark is, and here's my tools, and it's just so much easier to do things, to see what's what. Let's say I want to increase my brush size. In Photoshop, you can use the square bracket keys beside the P key. That works for Sketchbook Pro too. But something I can do is in this puck, I think it's called, if you click in and then you move to the left and right or up and down, it actually changes the size of your brush, and you can do that with your pen alone. So this program is designed so you don't need to use your keyboard, you don't need to use your mouse. You can pretty much do everything with just your pen. This puck, it changes the color, so if I go up and down, I can change the luminance, so if it's lighter or darker in color. And if I go left and right, I can change the saturation. So that's useful if I was painting. Say I'm painting something and I've got this red color, and maybe I'll put like a green down. It's like it's okay, but it needs to be a bit more dark. So then I can change the luminance, just make the color dark, and it's like it needs to be more saturated. Okay, I can increase the saturation, and I can do that without having to select another color. Now honestly, I don't do this because it seems cool, but I personally use Sketchbook Pro less as a painting tool and more as what it is, a sketchbook, right? So I find it's really good for that as a sketchbook, and the lines are much smoother than in Photoshop. When I draw lines, it's much easier to make smooth lines. So that's another good thing. Layers. So here I have my layers window, and if I want to make a new layer, I click in the center. Now I've got all these options, and it's very visual, right? So it says add layer, delete layer, rename layer. Let's say I add a layer and I want to rename it. Well, I can do two things. Let's say I draw that, whatever that is, and see it appears in this layer box. So that's cool. So when I go to rename layer, I can either type this in my keyboard, but remember I said Sketchbook Pro is designed so you don't need a keyboard. So right now it shows what's on this layer, but I can change that. Click this button off, so show me what's on this layer, and it says layer 1 right now. I can clear that and I can call it whatever I want. So now, you know, I've done that, and I can just delete that layer. And pressing the delete key just clears whatever's on screen. So it's pretty nice for, you know, if you were doing figure drawings and got to move on to the next one. You just hit delete. So I mean, everything's so user-friendly and easy. I don't feel I need to walk through things, because it's like, okay, I want to know what's this. Well, click it, and it's, oh, it shows all my stuff and what it does. You have this library for Copic markers, and oh, that's nice. You have all the markers really nicely arranged. There's some cool things that are different that I want to go over. One of them is symmetry. Now, I know this is available in Painter, but it's available in Sketchbook Pro too. And so when I click on the symmetry, it allows me to do, I don't know, it just like does this stuff. And, you know, it's like a kaleidoscope. It mirrors the thing, and you can turn off, you know, one symmetry or the other. But I like it for designing patterns, especially for, let's say I had a character and they needed like a fancy emblem. It's like, okay, it's pretty easy to get that. I don't know, this doesn't look very good, but you get the idea, right? It's like, oh, okay, I can design stuff. Alright, what else? And then we've got things like this French curve, where let's say I wanted to make a curved line. Alright, well, I can use this and match up the curve. And then it's like, okay, cool, I got that. And if I want it, you know, bigger, smaller, I can match the angles. Let's say I wanted curve right there, and I can do that and get that curve in. Just easy. Can use this thing too, make ellipses, and what else? Oh, here's something I really like. So right now I've been doing a lot of cleanup. So that's where, let's say I have my drawing, and it's like a person. Let's just say that's what we got. We got a person. And all right, but the lines are all messy, and I want to do clean lines, and you know, I get my brush, and before I would have to, you know, try and make clean lines and slow down and all that, and it's okay. We use a bigger size. It's okay, but it's not that clean. But Sketchbook Pro has this awesome thing called Steady Stroke, and it works sort of like the pen tool in Photoshop or Illustrator, except instead of being complicated, it's like everything with Sketchbook Pro, it's intuitive. So first thing you'll do is you'll click, and then you'll pull, and it's like, hey, what's going on? Why are there these dotted lines? But you keep pulling, and then, whoa, okay. And I don't know how to explain it, but it really feels like I'm pulling this line. Like it's got like a tug to it. And it allows you to make really smooth curves and things, which is, it's such a time saver when you're doing cleanup, because instead of zooming in, you know, and doing something like that, which is called feathering, where you just sort of clean up with lines like that, and then from far, you know, it's okay. I mean, that's okay, but if I use Steady Stroke, and I was to do the same thing, it'd be so much easier, right? And my line's much smoother. So that's something I like. Even the line tool, just using it, and I'm getting a bit of lag, and that's just because I'm recording. It's usually not this way. But it's just so much more intuitive than Photoshop's line tool. And I'm not knocking Photoshop, because it's great, but it's super expensive and it's super hard to get used to if you've never painted digitally before and you just open up Photoshop. It's like, whoa, what do I do with this? But this, it's really easy. And if I hold down spacebar, get options like I can move this around, and I can also rotate the canvas really easily, which is, it's also a tool in Photoshop can do that. I think, Painter can do that. They can all do that now, but Sketchbook Pro can do that too. So, okay, downsides to Sketchbook Pro. Something I've experienced, but I've talked to friends who are using Sketchbook Pro and they've said they haven't had this issue, but sometimes my tablet stops responding. My pen will just stop responding. I just need to restart the program, and that's fine. Another thing I find is that there is a limit to how big your image can be. Let's see. I don't know. Image size. For me, there was a limit. Let's see if I make a 6,000 pixel image, if it will let me. Don't keep proportions. 6,000. Okay. Oh, okay, so it does. I don't know. I noticed when I had some PSD files I was bringing from Photoshop, if they were too big, they just wouldn't open in Sketchbook Pro. So maybe that's not a concern I have to worry about, but it was just something that came up. But other than that, I don't know. It's just easy. I mean, see, you even open up the pencil tool and it says if it's a 10B or a HB pencil, and it's like, it makes it easy if you're used to traditional and you're going to digital. So yeah, if you've got a little bit of money to spare and you just bought a tablet, you're not huge onto painting, like, I wouldn't recommend this for someone who is wanting to become a matte painter. It's like, no, learn Photoshop and use Photoshop, and that's all you'll need. But someone who is doing sketchy work or even illustration, you could still do good illustrations with this. As I said, I'm doing comic book cleanups right now, and it works just fine. I like the interface a bit better than Manga Studio or Photoshop, but let's see. Where it does seem to not be as strong, especially compared to Photoshop, is in editing. So if I want to scale images, what I can do is I can select things with the marquee tool and just resize them like that, which is fine. I can rotate them, all that good stuff. So that's all good. But let's say I wanted to flip this. Well, I can by going to image, and then I can mirror the layer or mirror the canvas. But that doesn't allow me to, let's say I just wanted to flip this part. That doesn't allow me to do that unless I go paste it on its own layer, and then I could flip that layer. So, stuff like that is maybe where it's lacking. But other than that, super good. I would highly recommend it to anyone who's just starting out, or even if you've been using things for a while, you've been using Photoshop and you just want something that's easy and user-friendly, then I would recommend Sketchbook Pro.